Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Advanced Bass Fishing, and really appreciate you guys checking today's video out because we're going to be talking about how to avoid line twist and fluffs on a spinning outfit if you're using straight fluorocarbon line. Now this is a big problem for a lot of people, but it's pretty easy to overcome it. So I've got some good tips and advice that's going to really reduce the frustration that you have from those overruns in today's video. Also, guys, before we get started, a couple quick reminders. Just want to let you know that I'd like to invite everybody to please swing by fishthemoment.com and check out my lake map breakdowns that I build for Fish the Moment. These are breakdowns I build for lakes all across the country. More than likely, it's got your favorite lakes on there. And these are places where, I mark basically 40 places on the lake and give you guys tips and advice on how to fish each spot that you can download straight to your GPS unit. So I'll put the Fish the Moment Lake Map Breakdown link in the description there. And also anyone interested in booking an on-the-water lesson with me, you can do that by going to my Facebook page, Randy Blaukat Professional Angler, and shoot me a private message, and I'll get you the info for that, so I really appreciate it. Okay, now if you guys watch some of my other channels out there, I've talked a lot about spinning tackle and the fact that I don't use Braid Toluorocarbon. Now, this is the controversial topic for whatever reason. A lot of people get really offended by it. But what I want to say about this, guys, is I have experimented extensively with both. I took a year's period and I used nothing but Braid Toluorocarbon on my fishing. As far as for my, I was trying to determine which was best. I didn't use it in the tournaments, but I used it all in practice and fun fishing and that stuff. And before that, I used nothing but fluorocarbon line. Through the process of using both for a year's period, I determined in my own fishing that there was more advantages to using straight fluorocarbon line than using the Braid Toluorocarbon. Now that's for another video, but that's why I use straight fluorocarbon line on my spinning outfits, and I highly recommend that you guys do the same thing. So here's a couple different things that you can do to avoid the bird's nest and the fluffs and the line twists that are very commonly associated with using fluorocarbon on a spinning rod. The first thing is how you put your line on your spool here. Now, the way that you do it is you take your line like this and just lay it flat on the ground just like this, and then you're holding your spinning outfit above it, and you're spooling on there. And most of the time, I've got my line over there between my finger and I'm putting pressure on it like that. Now, the way that you determine the way that the spool goes is how, when you release tension on the line, it's like, here's what's happening. It's like you'll put it like this and you're spooling the line, you've got tension on it and you release tension. If the line twists up and curls up, you need to switch the spool over where it's coming off the same way. So, you don't really know, because sometimes they put the little sticker on one side or the other, so it's not uniform on that. So make sure that after you've spooled your line for maybe 5 or 6 cranks, that you give it slack, and if that line twists up real bad, just flip it over like that, and that's gonna really help that out. Also, it will help this quite a bit. You can put it in like a trash can of water or like a bowl of water, and that water on the fluorocarbon line will help seed it a little bit better. But the main thing, guys, is when you're putting this line on, you want to make sure that the line goes on tight. In other words, you have to put tension on it. So what I do is, when I'm spooling, I'll put my hand up here, like I said, and I'll put the line between my fingers, and I'll start reeling. And I'm reeling slow, and I'm putting a lot of tension on it. I don't ever let the line get loose. I'm putting so it's actually I'm struggling to actually reel the line on, because I've got the line like between my fingers. Sometimes I'll put like a towel, like a wet towel in my hand, and I'll put the line between the wet towel. And I want to put it on so tight that I'm having to fight to reel like this to get it on. So this line is seated on super, super tight, and it's also seated on coming off the right direction of the spool. And again, it helps if it's wet. Now, the next thing is you want to make sure that you do not fill the spool too full. So make sure that you leave a gap there. See, I've got like an 1/8 of an inch gap between the line and the outside of the spool. Don't fill your line flush with the spool there, because that's going to get you a lot of problems with that. And you really don't want to go less than 1/8 of an inch there, because if you leave like a 1/4 of an inch gap there, it's going to reduce your casting distance. So just about like that, about 1/8 of an inch is a really good deal with that. But the main thing, guys, is just make sure that the line is coming off of the spool the same way it's going on your reel. Make sure you got a lot of tension on it. Helps again if it's wet, and don't fill it too full. And if you do all those things, it's going to reduce the number of backlashes and fluffs and line twists that you get. Unbelievable. Another thing you can do is occasionally take note looking at your spool, because every single time that you get a fluff, what happens is there's a loop that gets in your spool here, and that loop is there even if you don't even know that it's there if you haven't looked down. Because occasionally what will happen is, like, maybe you'll be working the spinning rod like that, and you allow a little bit of slack, a little tiny loop will form there, and you don't see it, and the next time that you cast, that loop coming across the rest of the line is what fluffs your line. So occasionally look down at your spool and make sure there's no little tiny loops in there, and if there is, just take time to peel it out with that. One more thing that I'll give you guys: if you get a bad fluff or a bad bird's nest or something like that, don't try to pick it out and then reuse your line, because it's going to weaken your line and it's going to overheat it. So if you get a bad fluff or bad backlash in a reel, it doesn't matter if it's a spinning reel or a bait caster, pull that out and get you some fresh line on there. You don't ever want to use where the line's been kinked from some type of a backlash or a bird's nest there. So anyway, guys, there's a few tips. I think it'll make your fishing a lot less frustrating if you try that, and we'll talk later.